everything, 80% of it has been shot on iPhones. From scratch, we had to create the entire world, comments, this, that, all that sort of stuff. AI can potentially be great, but who's really in control of AI? Hi, I'm Vikramaditya Motwane, and today I'm here to take you behind the scenes with IMDb.
क्या आप जानती हैं कि मैं आपकी सेवा में क्या कुछ कर सकता हूँ?
Take control of my life.
Can you explain the plot of Control for IMDb fans across the world?
So Control is a screen life film. Screen life is essentially the format of a film where you're watching things that are taking place on a computer screen or a laptop screen or screens that we are used to in terms of Google searches and video chats and that kind of stuff. So Control is a screen life film which is about an influencer couple that has a nasty breakup, and the girl decides to get a software that is going to erase him from her digital past, and she ends up making an AI friend and things go very wrong.
What has been your research like for Control?
So into the research from the film perspective, I had to see more of it was a kind of like a DIY. Yeah. We were trying to figure things out by ourselves. If you've seen Searching or you've seen Missing or you've seen Unfriended, you understand how the format works. It's a very voyeuristic look into, you're peeping over, it's like peeping over somebody's shoulder into the computer screen. That's how the film kind of like works. So the question there is, okay, how do we then end up making this work? In our case, a lot of our work, R&D actually, not even research, just the R&D had to go into being able to see how do we get all the different elements that we want. You have a character who's going to be talking on a software, specific software called Control, to an AI character. She's going to be receiving FaceTime calls that are going to come in and go out. She's going to be doing a lot of interactive stuff. How is she actually interacting with the computer? We're actually giving her prompts to be able to interact on the computer. So we made it an extremely live kind of scenario for her.
How do you think the audience will connect with Control?
We don't realize how much we actually use these devices in our daily lives all the time. There's, on an average, I'm guessing people for 5 to 6 hours a day. We are very used to chatting. We are very used to video calling. We are very used to Instagram. We're very used to all these kind of things. Now, to be able to see that and to see ourselves as someone has interacted with that is a very natural thing. So while it sounds very like, oh, this is new storytelling, it's actually, yes, it is, but also it's very normal. It's something that we do every single day. We don't even realize it.
Is there any incident from the sets of Control that you will never forget?
There was a moment where we were doing some reels. So Mukhi was like doing a dance reel and she's like showing outside the, and I'm inside the office, I'm looking outside, we have a little courtyard outside. And Pratik Shah, who's the cinematographer of the film, is sitting there on a chair. He's holding his head in his hands. And this is Pratik who's shot Jubilee, who's just, come off winning awards for Jubilee. And he's sitting there going, I'm shooting real videos. I will never forget that moment. For me, that encapsulated the entire film.
Does experimenting with your next film all the time make you nervous?
I don't think there's a challenge. I like to experiment. I like to do new things because I think that each film is a learning process. I think I enjoy the process of that discovery. I enjoy the process of trying to figure things out. I enjoy that little tinkering with things. The process of filmmaking gives me the most amount of joy. Being on a film set or writing a film or editing a film or working in sound, I think that's always great. And when you set yourself up with something that you're like, you want to figure it out along the way, I think that's the best part of filmmaking.
What digital habit drove you to explore this topic?
Look, I think it's with everybody. It's not just me. I think we are all in a way slaves of technology. We are all in a way slaves of our devices. And it's not even like a thing of you can only say, oh, it's by choice. In fact, after a certain point in time, it's not really by choice anymore. It's like some things are, you have to. I mean, what are you not using your phone for? And what do you, it's almost like everything else has been kind of like put to the side. So I think there's a necessity nowadays to be able to sort of like do that. But Control is a straight up genre thriller. It's a fun film where things happen and then things go wrong and then what happens after that.
What did Ananya and Vihan bring in with themselves that completely surprised you?
It's not just, it's Ananya, it's Vihan, it's also Sumukhi Suresh, who's done the dialogue for the film. I think for me and for Avi, who's the writer of the film, we wrote the film from our perspective, but I felt that it was important to get voices like Ananya and like Sumukhi on board because the authenticity of these characters comes from them. It doesn't come from me. And I think the value that Ananya and Vihan and Sumukhi and everybody else actually, a lot of people on the crew end up bringing to that is actually quite something is important. And I think it's necessary as well.
How was the process of working with Sumukhi Suresh?
Once the script was written, I just literally, like called Sumukhi over, gave her the script and said, now you do what you want. Like bring your voice, bring your authenticity. Who is Nella? Who's the kind of character she is? What would she be doing in her reels? How would she be talking to her audience? So you create a personality around that from that kind of, from that. So part of you is going, you're rolling your eyes going, Arey Baba, really, like this is what you want to do? And she's like, but this is true, dance reels are a thing. Like you can't avoid that. That's just the way it is. And I'm like, okay, fine, I get it. It's not my thing, but it is somebody's thing. So
did any real life events inspire a scene, plot point or characters?
Not specifically, but the inspiration we're drawing is just generally human nature on the internet. Yeah, I think there's a lot of trolling, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of putting the other person down kind of thing that happens on the internet. Everybody's on their own high horse. And I think some of that is definitely in the film, where one is sort of like, it's the way people look at celebrity culture, it's the way people look at influencer culture, which is another reason to get someone like Sumukhi on board, because I didn't want it to become too much of a outsider, cynical perspective of the way things work. Sumukhi being an insider brings in an honesty and a truth, to it, which is from the influencer's point of view, which is very honest and necessary. And I think that's why that kind of balances.
At any point, did you try working with existing AI models for the making of Control?
We did try and look at real AI engines for certain things, but the problem is at least when we were doing it, now it's but all the AI engines that we were working with are all proprietary software. So what happens is that you can't give your things up into that. So unless you're using a company that is going to be using AI specifically for you, that's not. So, and when we started doing this, that wasn't the case. We didn't have any of those companies over here. So we had to kind of like create everything ourselves and, use Unreal Engine and that kind of stuff. And that is, in a certain sort of way, that is the whole point, right? And this is like, AI can potentially be great, but who's really in control of AI is the question. And what's their end game? What's their end goal? What is their... In the end of the day, everybody's a capitalist. And that is where you're going to see the AI game also go into. We've seen it with Instagram. So.
How has the process of making Control changed you as a person?
So this film took 16 days to shoot and it's taken 16 months in post-production. And it's a 95-minute film. I finished longer series in shorter time than I finished this film. And the reason for that is because it's been a very complex edit. Like in the screen life world, because you're recreating someone's computer screen, which means that on a basic thing, she's talking to Alan in the Control app interface. You have to create the Control app interface. You have to have footage of her, footage of Alan. And because you're creating something from scratch, you're creating a whole new world. Like within that, that's your film set. There's a tendency when you write and when you shoot that you forget the pure value of visuals. There's something very magical about visuals doing the talking for you when you don't need the thing. And this film is kind of like, a lot of that happened. It's taught me that. It's taught me that never underestimate the power of visuals. Never underestimate the power of seeing something. You don't have to say something.
Which moment from the making of Control are you most proud of?
No, honestly, you know what? It's weirdly enough, this has been, in a weird sort of way, it's the most digital film that I've done. Everything, 80% of it has been shot on iPhones. It's all VFX created. It's all, kind of like from scratch. We had to create the entire world, comments, this, that, all that sort of stuff. And yet it feels like it's the most analog film I've made in my life, because until I see the final film with picture and sound together, final picture and final sound together, it's like I haven't seen the film. This has been a film where it's been like, everything has always been a work in progress. Like the final will come. And then finally when it's all put together, because VFX se wo shot aayega, grade pe jayega, it'll all come, and then sound will send this and sound will send that, and they'll match this and match that. So yeah, that'll be my proudest day, when I see the full, complete film.
Which 3 films would you recommend that explore issues on the digital world?
It's a fantastic film, man. It's that internet thread that went viral and then they made a film on it, Zola. I always, weirdly enough, every time like one wonders about the troubles of AI, if I have to sort of like do it, Ex Machina is the film that I keep kind of like going back to. I think that's a fantastic film, which again, there's something wonderful about, and the 3 different, in a certain sense, points of view of where technology can, is that when people push technology to a, because there's a purest thing of like technology can take you that far, but there's also like how far can you take technology where it's good for humanity. And I think that there's, those things start to, the question is legs.
What genre are you eagerly looking forward to explore next?
There's so many that I haven't done. I haven't done a war film. I haven't done a sports film. I haven't done horror is something that I haven't done at all. I'd love to do horror. There's so many things that I haven't done. I just want, like, whatever excites you in that moment. I think that, look, I love all kinds of movies. I love all kinds of shows. I love all kinds of documentaries, animation, everything. You know, so I think because you love something, you also want to be able to do your own version of it. So I have ideas for animation, I have ideas for horror, I have ideas for everything. So it's just a question of like what happens next, which I don't know, right?
How often do you use IMDb? What has been your experience with it?
I use IMDb a lot. I mean, I've used it for years now, and I use it all the time because every time it's not just about, it's like when a new film comes, you're excited. Like first things like, okay, who's written it, who's directed it, what's going on. It goes to you want to see the ratings when it goes to like a festival and somebody sort of like sees it there, or just generally the things you hear about. If you want to geek out on certain sort of like bits of it and sort of like go down that rabbit hole of, yeah, I've seen this actor, outstanding actor, what have they done before, and you kind of like go inside and you see it. So IMDb is, it's become it is sort of ubiquitous as your kind of like movie research tool that one uses. I hope you like this conversation. Please watch Control. It's on Netflix, and leave your comments, leave your reviews on imdb.com for the film. Make sure they're positive, please.